All right, let's play D&D. Okay, last week, an explosion went off outside of your guys' house. You investigated the explosion. You learned that a man or a halfling was running towards your house with something, was being chased by 3 individuals. A mechanical puppet on a roof threw a fireball into them, killed a bunch of people. One of the men that was chasing the halfling grabbed something off of him, ran down the back alley toward the bent nail, and that was the last any time somebody saw him. The halfling is dead, and the item has been taken. You tried to interrogate Tally, who runs the bent nail, sort of unsuccessfully. Layla tried to stake out the bent nail, also sort of unsuccessfully. And you've got, I think, a couple other jobs. 3 of you, Layla, Kelric, and Chris, took a job for the Zentarum to get more information about what was going on. Killed a drow who was shooting people. Chris has a gun now.
I have a gun!
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
We're all gonna die.
A poison gun. It's even better.
Yeah.
Do.
Gonna have a good time.
And I forget, you went and talked to Davil after that, right? And he filled you in. Am I missing
Yeah.
anything?
Not that I remember.
We found out about the snake guys are watching the bent nail guy. Like the swing snakes.
Oh yeah, Zaraj, the guy who delivers furniture for him and apparently lives above the Corleone's crown, does have a Zentarum tattoo.
And the dead.
And will not sleep with Layla.
And will not sleep with Layla.
Not sleep with Layla.
Big issue.
You
I mean, he is pretty big.
Have a mission to murder people, to murder somebody from the Lord's Alliance. He wants you to kill somebody named Harko Swarmhold. Kelric has a side thing that he wants to do.
Yeah, but I can't do that with Aruzi, so.
You don't have anything going on for the Grey Hands right now. And you don't have anything going on with the Emerald Enclave right now, though you did recently help deal with a necromancer problem. And the dog is upset. And that's it. So the question becomes, I believe it's the end of the day after that explosion ripped through your neighborhood. And the kids have been cooped up in the house all day because the area was cordoned off. So what do you guys want to do?
Well, I think last time we also were able to go out and about. There wasn't we weren't quarantined anymore, so we went out and about, and I talked to someone, I forget, at the yawning portal. Didn't I talk to somebody there?
Yeah, Davil. You went and spoke to Davil, Sarsong, and Yagra, and they gave you the job to somebody was killing elves and half-elves in the dock ward, and you went down there and found out it was a drow shooting people.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. And that's about it.
So you captured him, turned him over to the guards, but you kept the gun that he was using. And Chris has the gun now.
Yep.
I mean, that sounds right.
So now what?
Yeah, now what? What do you guys want to do?
I don't know. Quite a weave we have here. So...
can we go check on our neighbors to make sure they're okay?
Yeah, they've been interviewed by both you guys and the police.
Well, I mean, since we only have an hour, we can always do the half of the murder half of the party.
Yeah, you want to go do a murder?
Want to go look at a murder?
So, yeah, for the explosion thing that you have now, you know it was members of the Zentarum that were chasing this halfling. They took something and fled toward the bent nail, and you know that they were blown up by what looked like a little mechanical man. Oh, also there's a circus in town.
Oh yeah, the circus.
Because
Yeah.
we were gonna go to the circus,
And then we got
and then we
sidetracked
could
with
head.
explosion.
Stupid, sexy explosions.
Uh,
Okay.
sure. Well, I mean, we could ignore the murder or we could see the circus. Either one. The kids are fine, but the kids are probably pretty antsy. I mean, are they antsy to go see a circus?
Let's take the kids to the circus. I'm sure they'll have a great time. Nothing bad will happen at all.
Sure by me.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so-
kind of want to ignore the bad stuff and go to the circus.
And just go to the circus. Okay. Let me
You painted
find.
such a pretty picture.
Let me find the thing with the circus in it. It's called the Sea Maidens Fair.
Of note, Chase is very sick. As you can see.
Aw.
And by very sick, I
I
mean
can
his,
actually see him.
his allergies.
I can actually see everybody, or I can see Layla and and Kat and Chase. This never happens.
Woohoo! I can see you.
But you just
Normally
saw
I
me an
don't-
hour ago.
Haha.
Whatever.
know, but
I'm
I
gonna
never
wing it
see
because I
you
can't
for
find the
whatever
chapter
reason.
on it. So you head down to the dock ward early in the morning. I guess you guys sleep for the night. You don't head down in the middle of the night because it's late when the game picks back up. So you sleep for the evening. You wake up to the heat of the day just beginning to set in. Mist that had poured in off of the dock the night before being burnt away. The jostling of people getting up and starting about their daily business. Barkers and collars, people, boys selling broadsheets and girls along the dockward selling cuckles and shells. You head down toward the dock where these three great bright colored ships are.
I saw 3 ships come sailing in some random day, some random day.
Ooh. Seashells, huh? Do they have any pink ones? Pink seashells? Any of those? No.
Okay.
Got it.
No. So there's she's not selling seashells. She's selling food, mussels, like to be cooked and eaten.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Do they have any pink mussels?
Do they have any pink shells?
No. So as you head down to the Sea Maidens Fair, you can see docked toward the edge of the dock ward, toward the southern side of it, are 3 great ships. 3 what does this say?
Noise.
She sells with the dock ward. Okay.
Well,
Three great ships, all with brightly painted. The sides of one is like a maroon or dark purple. One is painted like a dark sea green, and another the blue, like the shade of a great iceberg. They've docked up, and you can see dock hands moving about on them, unloading great giant crates. Bright and colorful people. Some of the performers have already offloaded into the dock ward. People are gathering around the street. You can tell they're gearing
Archer's
up.
playing now? He's such
Yeah.
a smart dog.
You can tell they're gearing up toward getting things ready. You see a tiefling man in a bright, long purple like jacket, but with no sleeves on it. His arms and chest bare, wearing short like purple pants. He has a great brightly colored peacock tattooed on his chest, and he has 3 long, bizarrely curved blades that he's juggling. There's a woman, half elf, sharp pointy ears, her hair cropped very close and spiky orange, wearing like tight fitting, like an outfit that almost looks like it's made out of leather straps. And she has a pair of sticks with fire on the end of them that she's twirling and occasionally spitting great balls of fire. So there's circus performers and oddities out on the street, sort of keeping the crowd back away from the ships by being entertaining. while the actual crew of the ships, the more rough-looking seagoing folks, are offloading the actual equipment they'll need to do the parade.
I would like to do a perception check to see if I see any kind of like
Shenanigans.
symbols.
I'd like to do a perception check to make sure nobody's getting pickpocketed.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea, because I am like not thinking that. I'm thinking like, where are these snake people? Snake winged people and eyeballs and everything else that we've seen. 15.
15. None of these people are. They lots of them have tattoos, right? The sailors, some of the. There's an acrobat who has a great giant, like a hula hoop, but it's metal and like 10 feet across, and he's inside of the ring, like spinning it and twirling it and dancing around on it. They all have tattoos and markings and things like that. Some of them are fairly rough looking, but none of them have an eyeball tattoo, like standalone by itself, or a winged snake tattoo. Kelric, as you're looking around, you're looking to see if people. If there's somebody working the crowd, like a street urchin or somebody going through the crowd that's gathered around, maybe like you see a few kids skittering about, people get bumped into, so there may be some slippery stuff going on, but none of them seem to be associated with the Sea Maiden's Fair itself. But Kelric, what you do notice is there's on the deck of the purple ship, there's a tall, very handsome man in a ridiculous outfit. It's tightly cut, like purple, almost like a velvet-looking material, and he has a great broad purple hat with a feather stuck in it. He's human. He's a short cropped black goatee. He has a feather stuck in his hat that's this bright plumage that goes from it sort of fades from close to his hat. It's like a bright like purple color, and it slowly fades and shifts through different shades of purple, and it's white on the tip. And as you're watching, as you're sort of scanning the crowd and looking up on the ship, he holds out a hand, and a little mechanical man totters up next to him with a tray, a little brass and silver and wooden construct, about 3.5 feet tall, totters up with a tray and holds out a glass of wine, and he sort of takes it while he's watching, sort of looking over things.
Oh shit!
I'm gonna like nudge. Well, I'd say I'd nudge them with my shoulder, but that's a little high. So I'll slightly elbow whoever's standing next to me and like nod in that direction.
And then I'm just gonna like sneeze and cast guidance on you, and like when I cast guidance on you, it's gonna be like slap your back. What I think is a butt.
I just like you going like, it's like, I'm like
Ah,
that's great.
yes.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. God.
Why do I need guidance?
I don't know. It's just you nudged me. I just thought you needed some juice.
And like, and Color's like, does like the and like tries to nod in the dude's direction again.
Oh, the hot guy.
Puppet thing.
The thing. What? Oh. You think he's
Also, the fact that Sydney thinks that Peleus ran off and joined the circus. That's beautiful.
I mean, you never know. I just heard the description of someone clad in purple with a giant hat and a feather.
Oh God, it is Peleus. Oh God.
Peleus is the antagonist, except not really, because it's someone else.
I mean,
All right.
he could be an antagonist.
All right, can we can we get closer to that guy? Because I kind of want to nonchalantly give him a
He's
look.
up on the like top of the ship, like near the helm. So he's past the performers on the ship, past the dock workers.
Is that a place where normal people would go?
You don't see anybody moving past the performers and trying to get onto the ship itself.
Okay, who's the most important looking person? Like, is there a guy that's like bringing in the crowd? You know, like a collar.
Like a barker?
Yeah, Barker.
Sure, and he's dressed like we would think of like a turn of the century, like barker or ringmaster for a circus, like the full tux and tails, and a tall hat with a red ribbon around it. He has a cane that he twirls occasionally, and he's announcing the wonders of the night, and he's or the wonders of the parade they're about to put on. He's going on about creatures and creations you've never seen, wonders to explore, and blah blah. He has this whole spiel that he's doing loudly.
I'd like to talk to him. I'm gonna get us on this boat.
Sure. Yeah, you just walk up to him in the middle of the speech.
No, I mean like after he's done talking. I don't want to interrupt.
Not rude.
No, not rude like. Can I cast guidance on myself?
Yeah, so
Okay.
he takes a moment, takes a breath. That means that Kat will lose her guidance. You can only have one up at a time.
That's okay. I'll give her guidance.
Okay.
We'll
we're
just
all
guide each other.
He takes
High
a
five.
breath for a moment in the middle of his call, reaches into his jacket and pulls a handkerchief out, wipes the sweat from his brow, places it back into his pocket, and goes over to a bucket to get a drink of water. So he's taking a moment. He's sort of past a few of the circus performers. Like there's a man with a hurdy-gurdy who's playing away with a big broad
hurdy-gurdy man.
Yeah, with a big broad mustache who has a dancing monkey who the monkey dances and then runs around with a hat. And yeah, so he's playing this hurdy-gurdy sort of behind hurdy-gurdy man.
Okay, I wanna walk over there too. Be like, oh, what a lovely. This is a circus, right? It is called a circus colloquially.
Yeah, I mean you could call it a circus. It's a traveling carnival, a circus.
What
What a lovely affair.
What lovely performers you have. And I guess that's gonna be my in.
Okay, he looks up and sort of you push past hurdy-gurdy guy who looks a little bit confused, and toward the barker, and he looks up and sort of blinks at you a few times and smiles and says, "Well, yes, it's quite exciting. Like I said, creatures and wonders of every kind, performances and dancers of the most exotic."
Oh, I can see that. That's very exotic.
Oh, you've seen nothing. This is the warm-up.
Oh my goodness, I cannot wait.
There are things on the Sea Maiden's Fair, and he points to one of the boats. And he says, "On the Hellraiser, we carry beasts from far across the land." He points to another ship, the one on the far right, and he says, "And on the Heartbreaker, we carry every imbitable substance known, every tonic, toxin." And he says, "And dancers the like you've never seen."
Which boat is the one with the dude on it?
He doesn't point to that one. He points to the other
Cool.
two.
Okay. So this is where I'm gonna go. Oh, but what about that magnificent ship over there? I mean, surely there's something just as amazing on that one. And she has an accent for some reason because she wants to sound very excitable.
Okay. He says, "Oh, dear lady, that's the Eye Catcher, the flagship of Lord Zod."
Oh yeah.
Zord. Flagship of Lord Zord. It is the lead ship, the greatest ship. But we mostly use it to carry supplies.
Oh, that one. I mean, it's such a wonderful feat of
It's the
architecture.
biggest.
I've never seen something so big. I would love to take a closer look. Persuasion.
Sure.
With my 1d4.
Can I assist? Oh, I already did.
Oh, you can. I mean, I guess if you want. Do you want me to roll with advantage?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Okay. So 23.
He sort of squints at you. And then he looks back over his shoulder toward the guy in purple. And the guy in purple, his head snaps to look at this dude, the feather wobbling as he does so. And there's a moment where they just sort of look at each other, and he looks back to you and he goes,
Hi, insight
"Oh,
check.
yeah." He says, "Well, I believe an introduction to Lord Zord could be arranged. It's not the normal sort of thing we do. See, the Maiden's Fair comes to you."
17.
Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay. They gave each other an odd look.
Okay. Then I think I'll go. Oh well, would it be abominable if my friends and my children come as well?
Well, you're bringing the children on the ship with you.
Hey, that way there's no funny business.
I mean,
Are
If-
you using them as tiny meat shields?
If
No.
if we have the
Sad.
kids with us, I'm probably carrying Squidly.
I feel like
Okay.
there would be more funny business on the ship
That's a good
with
plan.
the children than off the ship.
I'm
but
hoping that the
okay.
children could be a distraction.
Well, it might be
I
that
feel
they
like
also don't
wouldn't
expect
want
funny
them on
business
the
from
ship,
us.
though.
Also true.
He nods and he says, yes, well, come. Then he just waves a hand like he's just gonna let you guys walk onto the ship.
Alright, cool.
It's not so much breaking into the ship as it is just going to the ship, I guess.
Right.
Moogie's playing too! Oh my god, our cat's gone so smart.
Aw. Alright, great. Layla is the name, thank you. We'll be going. I guess if he's not gonna like walk with us, we'll go on our own accord.
No, he'll walk you onto the ship.
Oh, okay. Hey, look, a butt. A cat.
Yep.
Butt.
Okay.
She's posing for the camera.
Oh god.
It's pointed right at us.
It's a cam cat.
Yeah, so
Uh,
she just leads you guys, like the whole lot of you, onto the boat, or the guy does, and he begins walking toward the man in purple, who starts walking down from the upper deck toward the actual deck of the ship. And you can see now that you're on the ship, the sails, which have been rolled up and pulled tight, match the color of the ship. They're a shimmering, like metallic-y looking purple color, like satin sheets. They reflect in the sun, and they're a little iridescent or pearlescent, like the color slightly shifts in the color of the sun. And the man, as he's coming down, you get a better look at him now, and the clothes he's wearing are like a little scanty. Like he's not wearing like heavy like clothing. He's his chest is bare. And the apparel is designed like perfectly to cut around his chest hair, so that his chest hair is exposed. And now closer, you can see that
Was
he
it
has
designed by Peleus?
probably he has a
Yeah.
flashy bejeweled rapier at his hip on a very stylish, almost loose-fitting white belt that stands out against the rest of his clothing. Over one eye, he does have a dark eye patch with a single like red ruby set in the middle of it where his pupil would be. And he comes walking toward the group of you, pulls his hat off and takes a bow. And as he does, can you guys make perception checks for me?
Do I still have guidance?
No, you'd have to cast on yourself again.
I'm just having a good
Which-
time here.
I probably shouldn't cast it with people looking at me.
That 21's still pretty good. So Layla and Kelric, you're not 100% certain, because there's a moment where he gives this flourishing bow where his hat covers his face, but when he stands back up and puts the hat back on, you could swear the eye patch has switched eyes. Like, you think it was on his left eye and now it's on his right, but maybe it was just a trick of the light. Maybe you were just distracted by the weird shiny sail, or the fact that he's wearing a ridiculous outfit. Like, but there's a good chance it switched eyes. And he smiles at you and motions like for you to come onto the ship, and he says, welcome aboard the Eye Catcher. He smiles. He has pearly white teeth that almost gleam in the sun. He's almost, his beard now, you can tell, is like perfectly neat. Like everything about his appearance is cultivated for a reason. And he says, my name is Zardar Zord, and I am the captain and at your service. Please. And he motions toward like a back cabin.
So on a scale of like 1 to 20, and like 20 being like max hotness, like how hot is this guy?
He's max hotness.
Oh shit. Here we go. Delighted to meet you. And she holds out a hand, and you can, yeah. She's...
Oh, he takes your hand and kisses it.
Oh god.
It does like the perfect cultural like trained bow and kissing motion like this. It's not stiff, but like this is a motion that he has been taught to do the proper way by somebody, like by an etiquette coach.
Okay, I'm going to just kind of take my hand back and go.
And as you do, one of the little mechanical man, a different one, this one dressed similar to Zardaz, like dressed similar to the captain in purple clothing, but a little golden man with a smaller sized rapier at his side, comes from below deck with like hors d'oeuvres plate and starts like trying to serve you guys hors d'oeuvres.
Oh, I take some. What is it? What they got? Do they got meats?
Oh yeah, if they got meats, I'm in.
There's some kind of little smoked fish on a cracker. There's 2 or 3 different types of cheeses, and in the center there's a big bowl of a grape of like a weird golden color that you've never seen before.
I think I'm gonna help the children so that they don't just like freaking ambush this guy with snacks.
Yeah,
Like
they're
I'm
just
gonna
like,
politely
yeah, no,
hand them each one.
no. Squidly's like, ah, bro, snacks. This guy's the best.
Yeah.
I'll just like take some and hold them up.
Yeah, they're
you
eating
go.
snacks.
Squidly son, please introduce yourself to the captain and shake his hand. And I like line the children up.
Yeah, okay. You can see Nat because she's quiet. I think you guys have learned to pick up on her body language a little more. She's a little stiff, and she's like staring at this dude's rapier like a hungry dog looking at a bone. Put some cheese in his hat. Yeah, it disappears into the hat. There's a little squawking noise that comes out of there, and Zord sort of looks and peers, and he's while you're introducing the children, or after you introduce the children, and he looks at Layla because she's the one that's been talking to him, and says, "So, what brings you aboard the Eye Catcher this fine day, dear lady?"
Well, I happen to have noticed a very fine, fine, uh,
I raise my hand, like as if I'm trying to like ask a question.
He looks at you and sort of blinks a few times, and then goes, "Oh, etiquette isn't quite as a schoolyard here, my dear. Please."
Did you guys see that dragon that's in the bay when you came in?
He shakes his head and looks down in the water, a little worried. "Oh dear,
Don't worry about it.
a
It's
dragon
fine.
in the bay. That's
No, don't worry about it. It's fine. I was just wondering.
He's friendly enough.
Yeah, he just likes treasure. Do you have a lot
Yeah.
of treasure on your ship? Do you have a lot of treasure that a dragon would want?
Quit making the man paranoid.
He says,
No, it's fine. He's not
treasure of
gonna
the heart,
steal you.
perhaps, and treasure that is things that are important to us, but riches and gold, not so much.
Okay.
We are entertainers. The Sea Maiden's Fair is a traveling carnival based in Luskin. We travel along the Sword Coast every year and provide good, wholesome entertainment in the form of, well, fantastic street parades. I hope you will come and see.
Do I know anything about
we're good.
Luskin?
Yeah, you can roll perception.
Sorry, Chris.
Lizzie's here.
Buster wants to roll perception.
Hi.
I don't know what you're looking for.
Hello.
Hi, Izzy.
Wee bit. 8.
Okay, so Layla, Luskin is colloquially known as the City of Sails. It used to be ruled by pirates, and a bunch of sea captains got together in an attempt to overthrow the pirates, and they all got killed. So the pirates kept over, but the captains became sort of martyrs and like a battle cry, and the city was overthrown. It now has an elective government, but it is crooked. It's New Orleans. It's fantasy New Orleans. It's crooked. It's dirty. Everything is legal there. It's a weird effing place. Yeah.
fine sails that were purple. That's what I saw. Yeah, that's what really kind of. It's a very fine ship.
Uh-huh.
Yep. People with like a charisma of 20 are gonna make her real nervous. Cause they're more, they're
Do,
hot.
do you like spend half of the time with your entire face flushed and your ears are
Oh,
bright red?
100%. It's flushed right now if you can't tell.
Okay, I don't know what you were looking for, Buster, but you don't see it. Layla, that's what you know about Luskin. Uzochi, you guys are gone to check out the Sea Maidens Fair, the sea traveling carnival, and have been invited on one of the ships a little easily.
We're on a boat.
Who invited us onto the boat?
The
One of the
busker.
crew.
Oh, okay.
Well, we kind of invited ourselves.
And you can
Yeah.
see belly dancers moving about the deck along with the regular sea hand. A strong man, like a giant of a man. This dude has to be a Goliath or some kind of giant Ken. He's close to 11 feet tall, and his shoulders are massively broad.
Ooh,
And
can I
he's just
challenge him to an arm wrestling contest?
he's carrying a crate off of the deck of the ship.
Aw.
But you can stop him and try to arm wrestle him.
I'll do it when he's not busy.
Okay.
The dude with the purple hat who we are currently talking to has an extremely high charisma and constantly flustered, and B has a puppet machine thing that's about the same size as the what's it that chucked the things off the roof.
He's had two of them that you've seen on the boat so far. One brought him a glass of wine and then refreshments. And in fact, a few minutes later, a third one comes up with drinks. He has some sort of like green, clear, thin-looking liquid with bubbles in it
Ooh.
that he holds out to the kids.
Oh, how cute!
Dude, can
What's
I
this
take
one's
one?
name?
He looks at it and he goes, Zardaz looks at it and sort of blinks a few seconds and goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, dear friend, they don't have names."
But they they're serving you drinks, and I assume they talk to you too. I mean, surely you must name them.
They don't. No, friend. They don't speak. They're Do you not know of nimble rights?
Do I know of nimble rights? I'm
You can
asking.
make an Arcana
out of
check.
character. Okay.
I want to join in that because I just want to know if I know.
Well, I'll give you advantage. I'll see if I. Where have I heard that?
You might have to roll faster than me. Had to pull up character.
18.
Oh, question. Can I
Yeah.
only give assistance if I'm proficient in something, or can I just ponder
To
my
use that-
brain?
I think to use the help action, I don't think you have to be proficient in it. I'm gonna say no for now, and I'll look later.
Okay.
I also got an 18.
So Kellerick and Joyden, the two of you know that Nimblewrights are these little things. They're mechanical people. They're clockwork in nature, sort of powered by magic. They're constructs, so they're not intelligent in the classical sense. Of like we would think of as like self-conscious. They're little pre-programmed robot creatures powered by magic. They're wind-up toys almost. Like they literally have a gear in their back where you can wind them up. He says, "Oh
Do they
no,
have to
these
do I know if they have to be assigned tasks or do they just kind of do their own thing?
they mostly they have to be assigned. They have to be told what to do, or they just stand around."
Do they last a certain amount?
They're like intelligent enough to carry out complicated tasks. If you give them something complex to do, they can accomplish that complex thing. He says, "No, the Nimblewrights. They're well, I bargained with a Lantanese wizard aboard the flagship once, and I purchased 5 of them. I keep 3 on this vessel and 1 on each of the others. They're perfectly harmless. They join the parade."
Do they last forever, or do you have to repair them?
He shrugs and like while he holds out his empty wine glass, one comes up with a decanter full of like dark purple wine, and fills his glass, which is like the crystal. It's like a crystal goblet that he has in one hand, and the glass itself is purple up toward the top and slowly fades toward clear. And he has it filled and takes a sip out of it. And no, I don't know how long they last. They don't seem to need much maintenance.
Out of character, this seems like such a bad idea because of, I think Chucky and, the wandering around just doing their own thing.
Susie, look up a photo of them. They're not that creepy.
Chucky was
Nimrods,
the
you said?
ghost of
Nimblerites.
Right.
Nimblerites.
Nimblerites. How enchanting. She says that kind of like in a weird point in the conversation, like it doesn't
I raised
make
my
any sense.
hand again.
So what you're telling me, Susie, is that around other high charisma characters, Layla charisma like drops by 3 points.
Basically, yeah.
Do I have a
it's
handout
just
for one?
like so much soon
Yeah.
in one place.
There you go.
You know.
They look like this. They're little like brass constructs.
Oh, that's cool.
Brass and wood.
Like a
and the
nutcracker.
one that he has with him
Well,
has the like. It doesn't have a rapier as its hand. It has a rapier that matches his rapier at its side. Like it's dressed to be dressed like him. So they look like little versions of him.
Oh god, I like those little dolls that you can get customized to look like your kids.
Oh no.
Oh my goodness. Do these all look like this?
Oh no, they come in a variety of shapes and sizes. I believe the lady wizard who built mine had a crush.
Can they be possessed by ghosts? Do you know?
He shrugs. I'm sorry, I'm not much familiar with that. Is that why you came upon my ship today? Was to ask me about my little friends here and ghosts?
I don't know. Layla was the one that wanted to come up here. I just came along for the ride.
I think he finds you attractive.
He shrugs and flashes another like pearly white smile and says, well, perhaps you should come below deck with me, then into the captain's quarters we can have a brunch. Your little ones seem to have eaten all my hors d'oeuvres.
Ooh, brunch, yes. Yes, please.
So we ate all your food and now you're giving us more food?
Yeah.
Don't
He
question
looks at you and he goes, what sort of host would I be if I did not feed a hungry guest?
I know, he'd be a bad host. Let's go.
Speaking of, can I do an insight check on that? Like, just like, does he really want us just to eat and be merry and drink?
Well, I mean, he is like an entertainer, I think. So.
Right, but can't be too careful with people
we
that
just met him and
invite
he's
us.
already inviting us inside the ship.
I mean, that we're already on.
Yeah, I think you are suspicious of it just because he seems so open and welcoming. But you can't like put your finger on why.
Okay. It's like, yeah, fine. Like I could eat. I don't think I got enough food.
A gift brunch in the mouth.
Yeah, so he takes you into through the first floor of the ship and into a side room, which is bigger than you would have expected it to be, and to what looks like a dining cabin is a long wooden table, and it's all bedecked in gold filigree. There's purple curtains with silken tassels that cover with the portholes and windows. The wood paneling in this part of the ship is scented with some sort of perfume, and already sprawled across the top of a mahogany, like almost purple wood colored table is, and the table is finely crafted, but there's golden platters spread across this table covered in food. The dollies that stand on either side of the table like to push food in out are gold. Even the wine glasses on them are all crystal, and everything is clad and decked out. It's strange, and the table itself has like a continental breakfast like laid out on it already, and mimosas. And there's one of the Nimblerites standing in the corner. This one doesn't look like him, with its hands sort of folded over its chest and a purple like napkin folded over its brass arm.
I don't know, man. This looks like the kind of treasure a dragon would like.
And there's the exact correct number of seats set across the table, like around the table.
Wow.
So, yeah, the children are quite hungry. I think it might have been like all of that ruckus that was really up in town today. Did you hear about all the commotion?
He shrugs and shakes his head. No. And he goes and sits behind the table. Sorry, every city has its problems. I assume Waterdeep is no different. Please sit.
Can I insight check him now?
Yeah.
Chris is
You
always
can roll as many
right.
insight checks as you want.
I'm never gonna get it. That's fine. That's a 15.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys are starting to get a little tense, I think. Like he starts to pick up on the energy of the room.
Chris
Um,
is sitting down.
Okay, you can roll sleight of hand, Buster.
That's
I
Okay.
think I'll also roll insight.
Buster,
Oh no.
Buster, no.
Yeah, it is. It's very obvious. He doesn't like. I think you all see Buster slip a gold plate, like push all the fruit off of it and slip it into his jacket, and you see Zord see him do this, and not he doesn't say anything. He just continues with the conversation without skipping a beat, because he sort of picks up on the energy in the room, and he says, "You know, you adventuring sorts are always so suspicious. Please, please, I have invited you onto my ship, into my home. Sit." And he motions toward the nimble right, and the nimble right starts to fill the glasses with stuff. And the kids take a drink out of the green stuff that was given them. At this point, they've chugged it. And he goes to refill those. But when they first drink out of it, they all giggle and laugh. And Jinx is like, "This is the shit." And no, I'm sorry, not Jinx. Squidly says that. Jinx is like, "It tickles your nose. Is this magic?"
no,
And,
it's Sprite.
And so Zardon laughs and says, "It's a form of magic, yes. It's
Oh.
the water comes from a spring that is filtered through a rock under some pressure, and it leaves some sort of deposit behind it. It makes it quite fizzy, and we add a bit of sugar and flavor to it. I haven't thought of a name for it yet, though."
Bubbly.
Can I have some?
Fizzy.
He shrugs and he goes, "Oh, I
Fizzy
assumed."
bubbly.
He's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to assume we would all want mimosas. Perhaps it's too early for you." And he motions to the nimble right, and the nimble right will fill you a glass with a fizzy drink.
Oh, thanks.
Fizzy bubbly.
I will sit at the
Check.
table just to appease our hospitable guests and look at the goblet that one of the nimble rats had filled.
Kelrick says, "I don't really feel like eating anything. I'm feeling seasick," but he says it like the most straight-laced, not believable way possible.
And he points to the glass that Chris is drinking out of, and he goes, "Oh, that quite helps settle your stomach, then, dear."
Oh yeah, you want some? And I like offer my glass.
Now then, lads and ladies,
That's okay.
lords of Waterdeep. And he's like, "You mentioned some political upheaval or some going-ons. You see, I, and the people who travel with me, are entertainers. Like I said, every city must have its problems, but my job as an entertainer is to make people forget about politics for a while."
Hi.
Can I, so whenever you say forget, do you maybe help influence them to forget for one political side or another?
He cocks his head and says, "No, dear friend, no, we're here to make money."
I see.
Awesome.
So you don't say come to cities and take bribes to say distract people from things from what they shouldn't be distracted from.
Mhm.
I trail off and just kind of get in perspective.
Okay. "No, Joyden, my dear, my politics do not interest me, and my means and methods are nothing nefarious." We
I
all
have
what
to-
you see.
Did,
I
did
gotta
Jordan
s-
introduce herself to him?
You guys all introduced yourselves. He
Oh.
just Uzochi the player was not here when he played.
Oh, okay.
I have to say, Jordan, I'm kind of impressed. You haven't even tried to sell him one pair of shoes.
Also true.
that is true.
I mean, there's always time for that.
I usually try to do that as an end to the
Yeah,
conversation.
his eyes snap
But the-
over to Jordan, and he's like, "Show me these shoes."
Let me just
Well,
say,
I
they're
open my trench coat
fantastic.
and shoes align both
Yeah, it's just
sides.
And he like strokes his little short beard and looks them up and down. He's like, "Oh yes, fine craftsmanship. May I?"
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Takes one of the shoes and he smells it and he turns it over and he tests the flexibility of it and like he gets it real close to his face. And for Kelric and Layla, you swear his eye patch is switched. Like you swear
Again?
it's on the other eye. Like,
dear sir,
and he's looking down at this shoe really hard, and then he looks up at you with his one now right eye free, and squints with it and says, "Do they come in purple?"
For you, absolutely. You know, just a small nominal fee of,
Dying.
5 gold.
He waves at the nimble right, and the nimble right leaves the room and comes back with a little baggie, and he puts it down on the table and opens it up, and he takes out a platinum piece is 10 gold. Takes out a
Yes.
platinum piece, puts it on the table, and he's like, "I will take 2 pairs. Can you do
Excellent.
one? Can you do one with a high knee
Yeah, absolutely.
and one in an ankle cut for during travel?"
Yeah, absolutely. I will get that taken care of you post haste. And I shuffle off to start work on the
Platinum
shoes
100
while the
gold?
boat. Yeah, I thought platinum was 100.
No, it's 10. It's everything goes from 10.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's on a system at 10.
Let me text you.
Currency. 1 copper piece is worth 1 silver. Is worth 1/10 of a silver piece. 1 silver piece. Yeah, 1/10. Yeah, it's 1 to 10. So yeah, he buys 2 pairs of shoes.
Sweet.
He gives you 10 gold, and you are stuck making shoes for this man forever.
Not again! Ah!
question. When I touched his hand to shake his hand and he gave my hand a kiss, was his hand very soft? Or was it hardened?
Make a perception check.
Okay. Because this is an important question. 9. Dang it.
And Chris and Kimbo, did either one of you guys shake hands with him?
I guess so.
I don't think
As a
so.
formality.
Okay, Chris, can you make a perception check for me too?
Yeah.
Okay. He did the same thing to your hand that he did to Layla's, where he did the flowy bow and kissed your hand. But when he took your hand, you notice he had calluses along like the ridge part of his hand right here, like just at the base of each finger. And then he had a heavy callus on the end of his thumb. There's 2 ways typically you get calluses like that. One is from spending a lot of time swinging a hammer. The other is from using a particular grip on a rapier. So if these calluses that he has would be from spending a lot of hours of practice with the sword.
He's a swashbuckler. Perhaps.
Ooh, sexy and dangerous. So he mentioned that we're adventuring types and that we're always suspicious.
Yeah, and then
I want to tell him about the damn frog in the bathtub.
What? Why?
Because
There's a reason I'm suspicious there's frogs in my tub.
yes.
Sounds like a crazy person.
Okay.
Regale him of the story of our last adventure, because I want to kind of downplay the adventurer part.
The explosion?
No, I just want to tell him about the frog in the tub.
So you just tell him about the frog in the tub. You don't bring up the explosion or the fact that you're looking for a nimble right or what you think is a nimble right.
No.
Or the fact that we're trying to build a bar made of salad.
Not yet.
Hey,
I
did
want
you
to
know
bring
our
up the
house is
salad bar.
haunted?
Also, yeah. Those things will be last.
Out of curiosity, you said that you bought the nimble rights from someone. Do they only listen to your orders, or do they also take orders from anybody who talks to them?
He sort of looks around and he shrugs.
Sorry, I know it's a weird question. I don't really see them that
He
often.
shrugs and he goes, "Well, they seem to take orders from most of the crew. But they're, like I said, they're harmless. Why are you so interested in my little constructs? I have much bigger ones.
I've never.
Really?
You'll see them
Where?
during the parade."
Oh.
Well,
I've never seen one in person. I've heard of them, but I have never seen one.
Okay,
Sorry.
I'm gonna make an insight check on you now. Once I find his stats.
Technically, nothing I said was a lie, so I don't have perception.
No, but you're being cagey about it.
I know.
Iron Man. You don't have insight, bro? What's insight based on? Intelligence?
Wisdom, I think. I
Wisdom?
thought it was wisdom.
No, it's
yep,
intelligence.
it is wisdom. No, it's
It is
wisdom.
Or is
wisdom.
it? Oh, it is.
It is wisdom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Can you make a deception check for me?
Oh no, the last one I made went so well. Oh hey.
Oh.
Okay, he sort of squints at you. And then... My dear friend Calric, I don't wish to be rude, of course, but, well, most people don't ask to come on the ship and then ask me very specific questions about members of my crew.
You call your nimble rights members of your crew, or you're extending that to just the most recent question?
The nimble rights are, yes, I mean, as I said, they're not intelligent in the classical sense, but they are beings. They are somewhat self-aware. Yes, I consider them members of the crew.
But you
Okay,
didn't
just
name
curious.
them?
Well, they don't respond to names that I'm aware of. He shrugs.
Yeah, but it'd be cute though.
Well, perhaps I'll name them then.
Yeah, I think that would, give them something to look forward to whenever you're like, oh, he always calls on me, or no, he always keeps me doing the dishes or something.
He shrugs and he goes, "I tell you what then, friends. You tell me what's going on honestly, and I will answer your questions on it."
Okay, out of the question. This is an out of character question. I don't remember who saw the nimble right whenever we were chasing on the
It wasn't
roof.
one of us.
It wasn't one of you. Somebody. It was a noble that joined in.
Yeah.
I thought they saw like a small figure.
They saw what they described as a brass puppet.
What about the person that has the garden, the greenhouse? She saw the person drop something off in the water barrel, right?
No, that was Martin, the little kid. The lady at the Corleone's crown saw the guy
running,
run past her, shot toward.
That's right. Okay.
The bent nail.
Okay. So
I'm
here's the
gonna
thing. First of all, you look like a guy that we know, and we thought you might be the guy, but you're not.
You have never met Peleus.
Floon. I was thinking Floon.
I
Very fancy man.
Okay. He nods.
So we thought you were Floon.
Leans back in his heavy chair.
And we have been, tasked at finding him, and well, anyway.
Well, we already found him, didn't we?
Yes.
It's not like we gotta find him again.
Well, yeah.
He shrugs. Floon is a very common name, but okay.
Well, anyway, he runs around with this guy named Volo who writes books, but
I know of Volo.
Yeah, so we thought that maybe he was joining up, so we thought we would come see him again, and it turns out it's you. Not a disappointment or anything, because, I mean, you're fairly, easy on the eyes. So there's some things that happened in town, big explosion, happened to be really fucking close to my house. And I would like to know why they happened to see something that was like, I don't know, a puppet on a rooftop that was brass in nature,
He's
magical
nodding.
as well. So we're looking also for that, but we didn't notice any of that. when we saw your magnificent boat, and we saw you and we thought you were somebody else. So
He nods and says,
we always
well,
have a careful eye out, you know.
well, as gracious as it and enjoyable it has been to meet all of you, much to your disappointment and chagrin, I am sure, my Nimblewrights only leave the ship during the parade.
Excellent. But since you know something about Nimblewrights, perhaps you could tell me a little bit more about, like, the person that made yours?
I told you, a Latinese wizard.
Latinese wizard.
This in the land of Latan, which is 300 some odd leagues
Can
south
I-
of here.
can I
How
roll-
far away?
Can I roll insight on that one statement
Yeah,
about them leaving the ship for the parade?
yeah.
Is that seems?
Yeah, that's what I was. Well, I was rolling insight to see if he was lying while he was talking to me. But
Okay. I mean, I can roll deception for him. Okay. No, I mean, he's not lying. He's just the Nimblewrights don't leave the ship, at least as far as he knows.
I'm sorry to sound very suspicious. I don't want to make any assumptions about anything, so it's good for me to ask.
Well, I mean,
So-
the fact that the crew has autonomy over them as well is a bit of concern.
Like, can the crew tell them to leave the ship, or are you the only one that can tell them?
Well, the crew can give them orders, but they're not allowed to leave the ship. It's a standing order, and the crew listens to me. Look, these things, they are fairly rare, and I can understand your suspicion if there's one out there throwing fire at people, but, it wasn't one of mine. But knowing what they are, perhaps it would make it easier for you to find them now that you know that what you're looking for, at least, instead of, I don't know, looking for a puppet.
can I insight that?
Do they have a memory?
He shrugs. They don't speak.
Well, I mean, but they can do things like nod. So if you say, "Did you do the thing?" then they could nod yes or no, right?
I suppose he motions to the one in the corner, and it comes up, and he goes, "Did you blow anyone up in the city of Waterdeep?" And it shakes its head. And he says, "Do you know if any of the other Nimblewrights on board have blown anyone up on the city of Waterdeep?" And it shakes its head. And he goes,
Can I?
"Have any of the
insight-
others on yeah?" And he goes, "Have any others on the ship left?" And it shakes its head. He goes, he holds up his hands like in a big gesture, like he doesn't know what else to do about it.
Can I insight check the Nimblewright?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Let me get their sheet. This is one of those things where he doesn't seem to be lying. The Nimblewright is incapable of facial.
It's okay.
Its face is literally a hammered mask.
So I wouldn't. Yeah.
So it's really difficult to read, but he seems perfectly pleased with that answer. He goes, "Now, the next question's going to be if they're capable of lying, and to be honest, I've
I don't either. I mean, look at that face. Huh.
It is very well made,
Yeah.
and we are sorry to bother you, but you can understand our concerns.
Oh, of course, dear.
Now this drink. This.
The fizzy one.
Yeah. This is one you should sell at the parade or whatever. Yeah,
Oh, we do.
What?
Yes. In
Come
fact,
in bottles.
one of the Nimblewright carries a big keg of it on his back and sprays it out of spigots. I told you, wonders upon Pierre, wonders about beyond compare.
I'm just gonna look at Chris.
The Sea Maiden's Fair is not your local carnival.
Chris.
Are you guys thinking to ask for an exclusive distributorship? With the,
I do believe we need this for our salad bar.
I think
And he says, "Oh, well, if
You
there's
guys are
gold
gonna get
involved, a
yuppie.
deal can certainly be struck. Especially if I could get an extra pair of shoes." Oh,
How often do you make it to this port?
once a year, but we could deliver a large quantity of it.
Yes, no, we just needed to, figure out scheduling and all that because we're trying to plan the opening and we need to see how long it's going to
And he
take.
nods, and he's, "Well, we'll be here
Ooh.
for the next 2 weeks, and if kept in its kegs, it keeps for quite a long time."
we could make it like a seasonal thing, like a special like once a
We
year
could call
thing.
it the Sea Maiden's Fair Drink,
Yeah.
and it can come around once a year.
Do you
Yeah,
have
like
any?
Girl
Do you
Scouts.
have any other specialties like that?
He looks over at it, and then he looks at you, sort of a hungry wolf smile, and says, "I have many specialties, but few of them involve a drink."
Kelric's ears turn red.
Okay.
Right.
What are you inciting?
Layla, you
What's
pick
what?
up on a few things. One, his accent is not Luskin. It's not that, and the voice he's doing is not a Luskin accent. It's closer to a Waterdavian noble's accent. So he's either faking it or he's not from Luskin. Two, his mannerisms are very, very smooth and clean. And three, for the first time, in the light that's shining on him from the little lanterns that are on the ceiling, he leans forward toward Kellerick as he's flirting, and you notice his shadow as it's cast on the back of the chair under the big pluming hat that matches, but his ears in the shadow are a little pointed,
So it is
and they're not on his head.
alias.
And he's wearing earrings that you can't see on him, but you see in his shadow.
Okay. So is anything like horribly haunting that I'm noticing, or is it just like something that is features he was hiding?
It's features that he's hiding. He's unnaturally graceful,
Okay.
like too graceful for a human. His ears are pointed, though not that you can see, and he's wearing jewelry you don't see on his physical form.
Oh, okay.
And his voice, his accent is probably fake. Like he's faking a Waterdavian accent.
Okay, so he's faking a Waterdavian accent.
Layla, I mean, I think Layla's, with her background, I think you could put together that he has some sort of disguise, probably magical.
Oh my. So I do have a question for you, sir. It must have taken you years to learn all this beautiful etiquette, and that is just something I really appreciate about a man. And I would love to know where you were trained formally, because this is not just trained by your mother. This is formal training.
What
Can you-
finishing school did you go to?
Can you make another deception check for me?
Are we looking to send our children to the same
He,
finishing school?
He smiles at you, and he leans back in his chair, and he claps slowly. Well, bravo, my friend. Bravo. And then he reaches up and takes the hat off again and puts it on the table, like next to his half-eaten food. And his form sort of shimmers and shifts. It changes appearance.
Okay.
And where once an attractive man, who's calling you? It's not important. Once an attractive man with dark-colored hair and a beard was sitting, the hair melts away to a dark, bald pate, and a handsome and roguish individual, dark skin and pointed ears, is sitting in the table across from.
Oh, he was a ghost.
He has
ghost all along.
he has charcoal black skin, long pointed sharp ears with several piercings up and down each of them. He is a drow with a clean shaven head, a male drow.
But he's hot, right?
He's still hot. he may actually even be a little hotter now.
Oh God, you are.
But he's still wearing the eye patch as well, and he gives you a wry grin.
You,
I jump up.
You are the most handsome man I've ever seen.
And he says, "Well, I appreciate that. It's not the first time I've been told it."
And now my hands are very sweaty.
And he goes, "But you can see the purpose of the skies, at least, I hope. My kind are not well looked at in the
Chris?
outside world. May I introduce myself? in actuality.
Yes, formally, please.
Is
Do.
the food haunted?
And he
Is the
takes
ship haunted? Are we
he takes
haunted?
a nod of his head. He says,
No, he's a drow, son.
he says, no, it's not haunted, but and he nods his head. My name is Jarlaxle Bayanri. And I will show you his picture.
Yep. He's hot.
Swishbuckler.
Oh.
And he says, you must forgive the guys, as I said, my kind are not treated well outside of the Underdark.
Kelrick nods understandingly.
Yeah, in fact, he touches his chest and he goes, and my sex, my gender, is not treated well in the Underdark. Thus, and he motions toward the boat.
Well, sir, I could treat that gender right nice if you just. Oh God.
And
Please
he
don't get
just-
the vapors.
I think it's too late.
Yeah, the vapors
Yeah,
have been
she's
had.
like, she doesn't make any
So,
sense. Basically.
Susie, I should point out that you, as a player, should know who this is. Even if you, as a character, would have no idea.
Me as a player, yeah, this guy seems pretty familiar. Isn't he in one of those books that I've read?
Yes, he's in the Legend of Dread's book.
Damn it! Oh, it's so hot.
And he says, I hope you won't hold this against me, given our potential future business dealings. I would still like to sell you my fizzy drink.
Oh yeah, no, we totally want it.
Yeah.
We want that
I
stuff.
think if you ask Layla Nice, she'll hold it against you as long as you like.
I mean, I can hold anything against you as long as you like.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
And he
excuse
looks
me,
at
that's
he
not
looks at Kimbo.
proper.
He looks at Kimbo, and his left eye squints because his right eye is covered by the eye patch. And as he squints, he looks at Kimbo and he goes, "Just Layla, then."
You're too young for me. No, I got
And he leans forward again and he goes, "Dear friend, I am 237 years old."
I stand corrected. No,
Oh, God.
So what's your secret? How do you maintain?
He moisturizes!
Well, he goes, "Well,
Oh Lord, what is your beauty routine? I must know. It must be written in the book of Soon.
he goes, well, there's two things. One, I believe living in humid caves helps keep the skin supple, and the other is I'm an elf."
Taking notes. Have to be elf. Please live in moisture. Got it.
Well
Okay.
then I can't do one of those things. Okay.
Oh. So, well, now that you've been graced by your beauty, are there other drow that work on the ship, or is it just you? And do they know that you are?
He smiles again, and most of the crew.
Oh, well, another question.
The performers are vagabonds, people I have picked up along the way. They are what they appear to be, as are the attractions. But the crew, they are members of various houses that have been destroyed in the tumultuous ways of the Underdark of the city of Menzoberranzan. Males are not looked on well there, and many houses fall. And if you are a male of a house that has fallen, you're basically a homeless wretch. So I have boats.
Oh, you poor dear. Are any of them kind of unsavory types? We ran into an unsavory one.
He smiles again and he goes, "They're."
I can't hear you.
He smiles and says, "We're drow, dear. Most of us are unsavory."
Unsavory. Okay, well, I guess,
If you're asking if any of us had intentions of blowing up your house or whatever, then no.
No,
I
no,
think
not
I
that.
think
We
that
moved
one
on
she was
from
worried
that.
about the murder on.
Other elves.
He shrugs.
Oh, okay. Well,
Well, if they are, I'm sure the guard will deal with them.
yeah.
And if not, there's always groups of brave adventurers that I'm sure someone will pay.
Yeah, we're assholes. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm just gonna have some drink.
Yeah,
I feel more at home now that
you
we've
guys-
gotten all this in the open.
Yeah, the conversation, I guess, continues awkwardly for a little while, and then there's a dinging noise, like a chiming noise that comes out of nowhere, and he goes, "Oh, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the ship has been unloaded, and it is time for me to go lead the parade." And he flourishes the hat, and it plops back onto his head, and the Zordazord appearance returns, and he says, "So if you'll excuse me, my dears."
Oh, wait, but before you go.
You're welcome to come back and visit, friend.
Excellent. I was going to invite you to our humble home since you.
But it's a mess.
Well, it is a mess, but if you haven't had a house to stay in for a day or two, you're welcome to stay in a house because you said your home was destroyed or something. And yeah, okay.
The boat, dear. The boat is my home. And like the voice of Jarlaxle comes out of the face of Zard, and he says, "The boat, dear. The boat is my home."
This is very distracting.
It was.
Well, if
It
you'll
was-
excuse me, as I was saying, I have business to attend to. And he motions to the nimble right, and he goes, "Bob here will show you out."
Please love me.
It was lovely meeting you, and Kelric didn't do a handshake at the beginning, but he's going to offer one now.
Yeah, so he reaches out, shakes your hand, and then he takes his leave, and you can hear him.
If you ever want to do brunch again, I'm here. I'm ready.
And the newly named Nimblewright Bob goes up to the door, holds the door for you.
Oh, I do want to like sleight of hand try and steal something though.
Yeah, go for it.
Why?
As a souvenir.
Buster, what have you done?
Okay.
Oh,
I
I
mean,
did
you guys
bad.
all have seen Buster and Chris steal stuff off this boat at this point. But the Nimblewright makes no move to stop you. It doesn't reach for its rapier.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm just
See, it's
gonna.
fine.
I'm just gonna like as we're leaving, and I like extend my hand. I'm like, we'll take care of that. Just yeah.
Thanks, Bob. If you ever need any shoes, you know where to find me.
Yeah, Bob looks down at its, which are carved to look like brass boots, and then looks back up at you.
I mean, if you need a different color or texture, I don't know if you feel. Do you feel,
Maybe
Bob?
spats. Do you make
Do you
spats?
feel- Spats?
Yeah.
Is that a hat? Forget.
No.
All right, we're shuffling off the boat while we say this.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Bob shows you off the boat, and you can see that a line has gathered. So you guys are kind of stuck on the boat because the parade is on the dock now, and there's a line. Zardaz has gone up to the front of it, and there's giant metallic constructs, like 15 feet tall, made out of what looks like gold, pushing like a great wheeled like float. There's a pair of them, and they're pushing a giant float that is carved to look like a dragon, and as its head actually articulates back and forth, it spits
wow.
fire. There's a small band playing carnival music with a hurdy-gurdy man as joined. There's animals in cages, tigers, lions, a great owl bear with a little hat on, marching in the line. There's what looks like a gorilla, kind of, but it's close to 15 feet tall, and it has great iron chains around its neck and one on each of its 4 wrists, as it has 4 great giant arms. It has a flaming red back and a great white belly, and it's huge. And in each one of these chains, the 5 chains that are leading off of it, there's one of these huge Goliath-looking men holding on to it. There's fire dancers and fire eaters and sword swallowers and musicians and acrobats and clowns and the dungeon master had to sneeze in the middle of that sentence, and clowns and entertainment and
sneeze after
oddities.
clowns.
mechanical beings and strange things, and as Zard/Stralaxel makes it to the front of the Sea Maidens Fair, the troupe, roughly 100 people, they fill this whole dock. Performers and attractions begin to head down the street. People have clustered around. There's clapping. There's cheering. There's people selling food on sticks and fried things, and it's a massive like hoopla and attraction. And you guys sort of have to stand on the boat and wait for the parade to leave before you can get down.
Oh, that does mean we have a great view of it. You can see everything.
That's a good point. I was thinking that we were going to be in the parade, but yeah, I like this spectate option.
Yeah, we're on spectator mode.
Okay, so time passes. The parade heads out.
I guess we're done for if the parade's kind of over and.
I want to get some food from some of the shopkeepers that had set up near the parade.
Yes, we need to see if there's any other food things that are absolutely delicious that we might be able to trade for later.
Do they like throw stuff like at the parade? Do they throw?
Yeah, they throw out like candy, and as promised, there's a Nimblewright with a keg strapped on its back and like a tap that it can like pump the fizzy drink out with.
They don't do like Mardi Gras beads or anything.
Sure, yeah, all of the things.
Okay.
It's New Orleans. Of course, there's Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah, everybody show some leg, get some beads.
I'm okay.
Yeah, so time passes, and the parade goes by. Fantastical though it is, the kids love it. They're excited. They yell. They scream. They get beads. They throw things at people. You're pretty sure Squidly picked somebody's pocket, and Nat had to put it back. To yelling and cheering, and by the end of the day, but the parade takes probably an hour to progress away from you guys. By the end of the hour, they're like exhausted. Even Nat, who is always trying to be stoic and tough, you could tell she's tired and fighting against the natural exhaustion of childhood excitement.
Aww.
I have a pickup net and put it on my shoulders next to Squidly, because I have big old fat shoulders.
Aw. Let's take these babies home. They looking mighty sleepy.
What's the name of the one?
I don't know
Nat
if
Squidly?
Rachel and Denny are here. Can Rachel and Denny, can you guys hear?
They can hear you. They're just writing the responses in chat.
Okay, cool. So you guys go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say we are.
Okay, so
And
Rachel and
clowns are
Denny,
cursed.
you go home. Peepaw, when you go up to, yes, Peepaw, when you go up to the tower, to the turret, it's mid-afternoon, the sun is out, it's hot, you guys are glad to be home, maybe just to cool off for a little while. When you go back up to your turret and open the door to your room, and this is not, just to say ahead of time, this is not your familiar, we're going to do your familiar later. There's a little sparrow, like a little dark green sparrow, perched in the window, and your window is open.
Ooh, that's me doing my best Buster impersonation.
And it sort of hops back and forth on the windowsill and turns its head from side to side like,
Hello, birdie. Am I doing it right?
okay. It like flutters off the
You don't
windowsill.
sound crazy enough.
Hello, birdie.
There we go.
And it flies away. And then you turn around, like I don't know, to go back downstairs or after closing the window, you turn back around and sitting like across the room, like in the other window sill with it open, is a guy. He's wearing like sort of dark gray-green leather armor. No heavy cloak. He's clean shaven this time, and his hair has been combed under his big floppy hat. But Finn, somebody you're familiar with, is sitting in your windowsill eating out of a bag of sunflower seeds, and he's like eating the seed, like popping seeds into his mouth and then spitting the spent seed out of the window. And you turn around and look at him, and he goes, "So there's no wolves in your house?" And then he looks down at the big giant claw marks on the top of your that go down to the room below.
Buster is typing.
Yeah.
But there's a sparrow. No, but there's a sparrow. I can't do it. I'm sorry.
Okay. And he says, You want to explain the giant weird claw marks in the door then?
Nah.
No? He shakes his head. He goes,
Nah.
You ever hear the story of the snake and the wolf? Ever hear that story when you were a kid, the snake and the wolf?
Nope.
No? I can't tell it the way my mom used to, but I'll give you the short version. Wolf goes around and eats a bunch of animals. Gets a bone stuck in the back of its throat. It can't get it out. Wolf's in terrible pain. Starts going around to all the animals, family members it's eaten, begging them to get the bone out of its throat. None of them will. So then comes up to the snake and says, Mr. Snake, I'm in terrible pain. There's this bone stuck in my throat. If you get it out for me, I'll give you all this power and I'll make you the king of the forest and it'll be the greatest thing ever. So the snake says, well, he hasn't eaten any of my family members, so I guess I'll help him out. Snake crawls down into the wolf's throat, pulls the bone out. Wolf lets the snake get out of its throat. Doesn't eat it. But after the snake pulls out the bone, spits it to the side, the snake says, well, where's all the stuff you promised me? The wolf shrugs and says, I was never going to give you any of that stuff. I just wanted the stupid bone out of my throat. Anyway, point of the story is you're not supposed to take gifts from wolves because their promises generally a lie.
What a smart wolf.
He puts a sunflower seed in his mouth and sort of chews on it for a few seconds and looks at it in his hands and spits the sunflower seed out your window and goes, yeah, I quit smoking recently, so I'm a little on edge. And I don't ever, the hardest part is like not knowing what to do with my hands, because I always used to have something to do with my hands when I was thinking. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that story. And then he just sort of like leans backwards out of your window and falls. And like you don't hear a thump. He doesn't hit the roof of the house. Like he just flips out of the door or out of the window.
It's one of the advantages of being your character, of the thing you're
Walk
doing,
over.
being your character. You can make it look awesome.
Yeah, make a perception check.
Words.
I can, because I can specifically pick the things I know Finn is good at and have him do those things. Like, he's real good at being stealthy, so I can, like, set him up for stealth checks.
He's got a very particular skill.
He's really bad at certain things, like, he's got really low charisma, so that's why he told that story poorly. Hang on, I gotta get his character sheet up really quick.
It doesn't matter.
Buster walks over, looks out the window, rolls a 3.
And looks up.
Okay.
I guess you didn't make it. Oh well.
I think this is right. Oh no, one higher than that. Oh, I rolled a natural 1. But even with a natural 1, I got a 17.
Holy shit. What level is Finn at this point? Jesus.
10. Same level as your old characters.
Ah, yes. I didn't know if he'd leveled up any since moving to Waterdeep.
So luckily you can't crit fail on a skill, so he disappears.
Poor sparrow
Oh, sorry.
guy. Poor sparrow guy. Poor sparrow guy. I'm not gonna be able to get Buster's accent. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're
So he
doing
tells
great.
that story, disappears out your window. The rest of you guys, I guess, get the kids settled. Figure out which one of the players that isn't currently here you're going to push him off.
Wait, did you say the sparrow was dark green?
Yeah.
Oh. How nice.
Buster's like, he's either dead out there somewhere or either way, he's not in my house. Goes on about his life like nothing happened. So yeah, the what do you guys want to do with the rest of your day? You can still you could try to pursue nimble rights, you could try to get into Tally's shop again.
I gotta borrow a person about a handkerchief.
Oh. I gotta see a person about a thing. And it doesn't involve shoes for once.
Time for a nap on the floor. Yep, rat nap on the floor. And Buster's gonna curl up, methinks.
Okay. So Buster's just gonna take a nap. Kelrick and Joyden sort of filter out of the house quietly together. What's everybody else want to do?
I think I need to work on my beauty routine. Pray to soon. Put some makeup on. Because I'm pretty sure that heat probably did a number.
Yeah, you need to get one of those sprays that you spray that seals it on. Some sort of glue, face glue. Okay. Okay, so Kelrick and Joyden, what do you guys want to do?
I have to go hunt down a lady.
Well, I'm pretty good at tracking, so I can help
I'm
out.
gonna peel nasty wallpaper off of the first floor walls and try to get it down to base
You might be able
materials.
to get the kids to help you with that, because that sounds fun, assuming they're not just sleeping.
Yeah, sure. I'll try to wrangle up a couple of them.
Okay, you wrangle up the kids and you're putting them to work in the house.
Yep.
There's no child labor laws in Waterdeep, so it's fine.
I mean, I speak from experience. Peeling wallpaper off the walls is hella fun.
So
It's not labor if you're doing it for free.
Joyden and Kelrick, the two of you have made finding this woman is not difficult. You've been told where she, like, what her regular routine was, and like what corner of the street to find her on during the day, because she always filters through the same area of the market district every day. She's a big lady, like 5'10" and close to 300 pounds, like a big fat woman. And she's loud. She yells at people. She has a little skinny servant girl, like a handmaiden, hustling along behind her, who's carrying all of her purchases for the day, her like ridiculous number of Gucci bags or whatever.
Does this
and yeah,
person
she's
look like she'd like dogs?
probably not. No, unless it was like a little designer dog she could dye hot pink,
Done.
then make the servant girl carry it. So she's not difficult to find. And she does have a sort of pink, long and flowing silken handkerchief. And she's wearing like whatever the Joyden would know. She's wearing whatever the latest fashion, the Waterdeep summer fashion is. She has that on, and obviously had to have it made for her because it wouldn't come in her size normally. And she's got this handkerchief, and every once in a while she takes it out of her pocket and wipes the sweat from her face with it, and complains loudly about the heat to nobody because nobody seems to like she's one of those people that people can tell are caustic, and like there's a swath of people that go around her as she migrates through the Waterdeep or through the market district. So she's not difficult to locate.
What color is the handkerchief? Is it like pink?
It's like light pink, like pink that's been washed out, sort of. But it's like supposed to be that color, like it's distressed jeans.
So how I was going to do this, I wanted to get a replacement and swap them out. So can I go and see if I can find a suitable?
You could find. Do you want to find like the same handkerchief or just something that looks the same, so it'll take her a while?
Tell Jeremy I said hi.
Something to.
So tell Jeremy I say hi.
Oh, Cat says hello. He waved. Yeah. Do you just want a handkerchief like the same shape and color, or do you want
Same shape and color? Doesn't need to be.
Okay, easy enough. You could pick one up for like 3 silver pieces.
Sweet. But yeah, I'm gonna try to.
So like, you literally just buy
watch
one
her.
from one of the stalls nearby, and you're following. She's like rude to people and goes into a fancy store and comes back out a few minutes later with the servant girl carrying another bag. And yeah, she's just sort of going on a angry shopping spree.
I'm gonna just like walk behind her in the crowded streets. I imagine it's crowded unless she's.
Do you need a distraction, Jordan?
Yeah, a distraction would help. I think I would more help if you distract the child so that she doesn't see the servant, so that she doesn't see me.
Okay. I am going to turn into a multi-poo.
Okay. So you step into like an alley out of sight. So you see Kelric, big giant Kelric, go into this alley, Jordan. A few seconds later, this little white, curly-haired, fluffy dog, probably weighs like 3 pounds, comes scampering out of the alley.
Oh, how adorable! Oh, sorry.
You don't know how a multi-poo can look at you flatly, but
I mean, considering multi-poos probably weren't developed yet, you are a very unusual dog.
but I'm
It's a
adorable.
newer
That's the point.
Yeah, it's a point of reference, though. She wants to be a little.
Yeah. Oh, no. I just
dog.
think it's funny.
So the little multi-pool comes scattering out, and you can sort of hear its nails clicking on the stone over the sound of the crowd around you.
And I'm gonna run in front of the around the servant girl a few times, like barking, and then bounce on my back legs, like, "Hey, pay attention to me!"
And I'm going to be like in
Can
the
you make
crowd,
like a
just kind of.
performance check? I know you can just roll off Kelric's character sheet for this.
Oh no! I was banking on the adorableness helping.
If you roll over a 10, I will give Joyd an advantage on the sleight of hand check to steal the handkerchief. Okay.
Yes!
So, yeah, the woman turns around. She's yelling at the girl. The girl is oohing and awing at the dog. This attracts the attention of the crowd. So, Joyden, you have a moment where nobody is paying attention to you.
Awesome.
And don't forget, you can use your mage hand to pick people's pockets from like 60 feet away.
Does that that would just still be sleight of hand too?
Yeah, you can just manipulate it like it's your hand.
Sweet. All right, so I'm gonna use mage hand and try to drop the other one and then pick up the
Try
one.
to swap them? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, at 20? Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. So the handkerchiefs are quickly swapped. And do you guys have like a signal that you can like? Are you gonna run up and be like, "That's my dog"?
Yeah, just like, oh, Biscuit, where have you been? Oh, because I'm so sorry.
I've been worried sick.
He gets into everything. It's like, please. If you want a pet, if your little servant wants to pet it, I'm sure he will.
I would not let my dear servant pet such a rabid creature. It clearly has fleas and rabies. It's a filthy little mongrel. How dare you let your creature run loose on the streets like this?
How dare I? How dare you disrespect me and think I don't clean up my dog and it can't clean for itself? All right, well, I bid you adieu. I don't want to cause a scene more than you have already caused one.
I will cause a scene, madam. I'm getting the guard. And she starts, guard. Oh, yes. God, someone, and like people at this
Are the
point
guards
are
the
like,
ones that are like not paying attention?
yeah, no, people start to like turn around and walk away awkwardly, and the guards that are nearby kind of look at her, look at you, roll their eyes, and keep walking. Like nobody wants to respond.
And thus we leave, I guess.
So yeah, just meandering off, just like if
Yeah.
Now you're going to dignify that with a response.
Okay. Yeah. So you guys have the aforementioned handkerchief.
Yay! Okay.
I bequeath this to you. I hope you do some good in the world, more than what she was doing.
I'm gonna keep being a dog for a while.
I think I'll hold on to it while you do that. Then.
Well, how far are we from the bank?
For the you're supposed to take the handkerchief to a little
Or to the how far are we from the pier?
that lives near Dar
Yeah.
Alley and that. You're in the dock. You can make it there and back by the end of the day. You have time to run, finish running the errand.
Okay. All right. After my hour as a dog passes, I'll get my handkerchief and I'll head to the pier.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay,
and
yeah,
I'll pay. I will pay Jordan the aforementioned amount.
Excellent. Thank you. I forget what that was.
It's okay. I'll Discord you later.
Awesome.
Be fine.
As Kellic runs off and does that, I want to try to find out more information on that guy that we're supposed to take care of.
You found a
Or
rough
get rid of.
location. Before he was using an abandoned warehouse, and he has been some sort of a rebel browser. I think in the field ward. Who gave you that mission? Hang on.
The Xanthra?
Hello?
No, that's
Lord's Alliance. It was Jalaster. No, we're gonna get him mixed up with Jarlaxle.
No, that's why you're gonna call him Zardoz.
Yeah,
Good work,
Zar. A dock.
Muted.
Yeah, that's the area he's been frequenting, and where he's been taking the thugs he's been trying to recruit. You found his location.
Gotcha.
So if you want some other information about him, what sort of stuff he's been up to, you could do another investigation check.
Okay, let me try that. Just to do.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think with a 22, you find him. He has two people with him, short-looking individuals with heavy cloaks that cover their face and body despite the heat, so you can't make out their features. And they stick closely to him, but always in the shadow of an alley. And he's running. He's walking around the dock ward and walks up to a guy who's maybe 15, 16 years old, who's a messenger, or no, he's selling broadsheets. He's selling the newspaper, basically. And he's walks up to this kid and smiles and says a few things. You're staying far enough in the back that you don't really hear the conversation. But then the kid shakes his head and tries to back away, and Harko starts yelling at him, screaming, and shoves the kid down into the street, and kicks water off the street into his face, and it's just yelling at him and trying to be intimidating, and then sort of walks away proudly.
So whenever the two guards were watching him, were they out of sight of?
This is in the dock ward, not in the market. So he does this purposely when there's no guards.
Right. But I'm talking about the two people that were shadowing.
The two individuals.
Guard.
Yeah, no, they stay nearby him. Yeah.
But out of his sight too.
No, he goes into the alley near them one point and talks. He definitely knows that they're there.
Right. Sorry, my question is just if they're always in his, if he's always.
Yeah, that's work. Thank you.
They're not always in
always.
No, they're not always in his line of sight.
Okay, cool. All right, as they shuffle off, I want to talk to the person he accosted, the 15-year-old kid that he accosted.
Okay, yeah, the kid's standing up and brushing mud and water and gunk out of his face, and picks up his bag of broadsheets, his newspapers.
Yeah, you poor thing. I'm sorry. I saw that man just totally disrespect you. It's one of these days.
You're a tiefling, right?
I am a tiefling.
He looks up at you and he blinks a few times, and while he's saying, "Oh, I appreciate the concern," he makes a religious sign in the air, he crosses himself, basically.
Are you scared of me, or do you think I offend you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sure it's just a stupid superstition. You seem very polite.
No. What
But-
superstition would that be?
Well, I mean, you're a. Nothing.
I am not
a
a demon, if that is your
No, I
concern.
mean, but he's like, but I'm sorry. I didn't mean it wasn't a thing. When you get raised in the dock ward, people around here they're rough and stupid.
Yeah, I saw that.
But that guy, he was just, I don't know, yelling something about the Xanathar. Said my paper was giving him bad press. I don't even read these things.
Really?
He
Can I
holds
see
out-
one of those papers?
Yeah, he holds out one of the broadsheets, and he's like, "They're a copper."
I fish out a silver for him, just like, well, I appreciate the
Yeah,
information.
he takes it without thinking about it or looking at it. Puts it in his pocket, and he holds out. It's a newspaper, but broadsheets they don't. It's the way newspapers used to be printed. It's just one big sheet of paper. So like if you were to unfold one page of a newspaper and only one side was printed, that's a broadsheet. So it's
Gotcha.
literally a broad sheet of paper. And he hands it to you, and yeah, there's some press in there about the gang war, about the battle between the Xanatharans and Tarum has heated up again. A massive explosion in the Troll Skull Alley kills 6. The Waterdeep City Guard investigating. Blah, blah, blah. There's a blurb in there about it, and
Lots of random exclamation points.
yeah, and then there's like the weather and like your horoscope based on your zodiac sign and like a little crossword puzzle and there's no sports section, but there's also a section that's like the like second article. The second big article would be about the Maiden's Fair arrival in the city. And then there's a third article that's smaller and shorter. There's no comics. Third article that's small and shorter. The title of it is like Undead Return to the City of Dead. What is like it's like what does this mean? It's like the conspiracy theory article about necromantic activity in the City of Dead.
Who writes these columns?
He shrugs and he's like,
Does the broadsheet have author names on it, or does it?
"Yeah, it has author names in it. It's
Oh,
it's published by somebody near. I'm trying to remember the name of the school. The publisher's address, in fact, is listed on it. It's over near the Font of Knowledge.
It's right behind you.
And he's like, but yeah, they're all written by different people.
Okay, but it's published at near the Font of Knowledge. That was kind of my question, mostly. Well, thank you. What is your name, young man?
He's like,
Okay.
oh, the name's Lane.
Okay.
Thank you, Lane. I may call upon your.
Better
Hey, Rach and Denny, you know your mic's on, right?
And he's like, hey, lady,
What?
you're real nice, but I gotta go back to selling papers.
Yeah,
Your
of
mic-
course.
Your mic's on. Yes.
Oh.
But and I leave him to it.
I didn't know. Okay. At least we weren't talking about something sensitive.
I just
Yeah,
thought I thought I'd let you know because you didn't seem to.
No, that's okay. We were waiting for our turns again.
So yeah, he goes off. And are you just gonna keep following this guy?
No, I think
Try to learn his habits.
I mean, I want to, but I also don't want to be seen. Like, all right, cool.
That's the thing you do when you want to do something and don't want to be. Okay.
Oh boy.
So you seem fairly stealthy.
Alright,
He goes
cool.
about yelling at people and for most of the rest of the day. So Kelric, you want to go deliver this handkerchief?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you go to the aforementioned corner house. It's a small, squat, like tenement house. They're all crammed closely together, packed densely. The heat of the day is like seems to hang around in the the city streets because the buildings are close together. They seem to absorb heat and the paved streets, and it radiates back because everything's so close and the buildings loom over. And it's a little small, like apartment building basically. And you knock on the front door.
I thought she was supposed to be standing outside.
No, she lives here.
Oh, is there a back door?
No, yeah, there's just the one door
Then yes, I knocked
because
on
the
the
houses
door.
are all literally smashed. Okay, you knock on the front door, and a human woman answers the door, and the room behind her is like pink and decorated with stuffed animals everywhere, and there's like a tea set, like a child-sized tea set in the corner. And the woman sort of blinks at you and smiles a little awkwardly and almost like scared.
I look
Says,
like a person, by the way.
okay, sure. She still seems a little awkward and frightened, and she says, yes?
Are you? And I insert whatever name he gave me because
I forget her name. She says, oh no, just a moment. She motions for you to come into the house.
does so, but how tall is the door?
You'd have to stoop to walk.
Okay.
Like it's
Would my
it's
projection have to stoop to walk in?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, as long as both of us have to stoop to walk in the door,
It's
and
not
I'm
like
not ducking
not
for
like
no
a
reason.
child-sized door, but it is small because the house is small.
Oh, I'm just
And-
making sure that that because the I'm 5'6" or something like that in my visionary, so I was making sure that both figures would have to duck instead of me just ducking for no reason.
Yeah. And the room is like it's like a 8-year-old little girl's bedroom. And so the room is like decorated to look that way. And there's a small kitchen off to the side that seems to be the only part of the house that isn't decorated that. And there's a small door to the back, but the whole place is like pink and fluffy and things like that. And the lady calls out, I need a little girl's name. Anne.
Sophie.
She calls it Anne. She says, Anne, there's someone here to see you, dear. And the door in the back creaks open, and a little tiefling girl comes out in a like pink frilly, like long pink frilly dress. And it's cooler in here, like substantially cooler than it is outside, though none of the windows are open. And like, have you ever seen an interview with a child actress, like a little kid that acts, and you're like, that person is way too adult
Yes.
to be like that small? That's like the immediate sense you get when this little red horned, red skinned tiefling girl in a pink dress comes out. It's like her movements and posture and the look on her face are like way too adult. It's off-putting. It's a little unsettling. And she looks up at you and says, oh yes, it's pleasant to meet you. Please. And she motions toward the little like little toy tea set with that's the table surrounded by like stuffed bears.
I sit at it. I look very comfortable.
Yeah, the chair creaks under your weight, and she goes over and sits down, and she says, Mother, would you bring us some tea, please? Like with a blank look on her face that's just off-putting. And the woman goes off and starts fixing tea, and she looks at you and blinks a few times, and then still with sort of a blank look on her little devil face, says, yes, so what do I owe the pleasure of your visit then?
Our mutual friend asked me to fetch this for you, and he pulls out that handkerchief and holds it out to her.
She leans forward, and each of her fingers, she has like human hands, but her nails are almost like little talons. And they click as she closes the little talons and just touches the handkerchief with that. And she takes it from you and sort of looks at it. And then she leans forward and smells it, like sniffs it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Well, and she starts to fold it. She puts it down neatly on the little table in front of her, the little child-sized table, and looks over to one of or she looks at you and she goes, well, you may tell him that it will be taken care of. And then she looks up over at one of the teddy bears. Won't it, Mr. Fluffy? And she looks back at you, and she's like, Mr. Fluffy agrees.
I nod solemnly.
Yeah, and like, you're given tea in a little like child-sized teacup. And the mother stands behind the little girl, like a servant would stand at a table, like waiting to be given orders. And she's like, "Yes, well, it has been a time since I have had tea with anyone, hasn't it, Mr. Fluffy? Yes, Mr. Fluffy says it's too long. Would you finish your tea with us?"
Yeah, sure.
Okay. And then she doesn't say anything else. She just
That is
sits there and
okay,
drinks
because
tea.
Kelric has no idea what to say, so
and
it's perfect.
stares at you like with unblinking eyes with they're black, she has no pupils, for like an awkward amount of time. And she goes, and then at the end of the cup of tea, she's like, "Well, this was very pleasant. Mother will show you to the door." And the woman goes over like toward the door,
Kelric will nod and give like
which is like 5 feet away because it's a tiny room.
Kelric will nod and give what he thinks is an elaborate bow, but it looks clunky and clumsy as hell. But he's trying. And he will go.
Okay, so you leave, and I guess you go home.
Yes, because I believe we had an agreement that if he needed me, he'd call.
Yeah. So you guys all return back home. Is there anything else specific that anybody else wants to do?
I just keep imagining those two twins at the end of the hallway and Shining, or not The Shining. What movie was that?
Similar.
No, that was The Shining.
Okay, yeah, that was Shining. Except there's just one of them.
I kind of want to see if I can see Siraj.
Come play with us, Kelric.
You go out and
Drinks.
just look around for him.
Yeah.
Okay, make a perception check. Let me find his stat block.
Can I guide myself?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna cast guidance and then perception.
Siraj.
That's gonna be rough.
Oh, that's just a handout.
Oh, I got a 9.
Scoozy. Yeah, just scoot it over. Sorry.
I didn't roll super right, but you don't see.
Can I just like quietly say, Siraj, wherefore art thou?
No answer.
Oh.
Oh.
I had something interesting to tell you.
Okay.
And then I guess I just kind of like go in the house. I'm like, you know where to find me. No answer.
Bless you.
Thank
You
you.
know. Okay.
Bless you.
So time passes. The sun sets. The heat of the day finally begins to go away. It takes longer to escape the city than it does, like out in the fields, because the buildings and the streets seem to hold on to it for longer. Let me ask you guys this: Are you guys planning on looking for this nimble right? Planning on trying to pursue Tally more?
Which one was Tally? The
He runs the bent nail.
The bent nail.
Oh, okay.
With a guy.
I wasn't going to pursue that Tally person, but the nimble right, yeah, I would like to continue to look for it. At least, yeah. Nighttime rollings. When they're busy with the parade, I imagine that they're at the parade.
Yeah, most of the city shows up. It goes up Warriors or up it goes up Snail Street. It winds up Snail Street to the high road, and then it goes up the high road, goes across through Skull Street, and then back down Diamond Street to past the bazaar. So it makes like a big loop around the outside edges of the city to the biggest street. And it goes back to the dock ward, and they do this every day for a week.
How long, does the parade take? Like 5 hours, half the day?
Like 5-6 hours, yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, the day winds down. The kids, and nobody has anything else they want to do immediately. Call it there.
Oh, I wanted to know, like, are there, would there be a place that I could go to find, like, a potion of water breathing or whatever?
Yeah, it's behind your house.
Oh,
Why do you need one?
how much do they cost?
Let me see. Hang on, I'll have to.
Maybe she wants to go hang with the dragon.
Maybe.
I mean, I'm
Well,
asking because I have one.
Oh, you do?
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
because they gave everyone one, and I just turned into a fish instead, so I have
Yeah.
one.
Oh, I don't
Also-
remember that.
Potions of water breathing are expensive.
Oh.
I'm looking to. I'm trying to remember which, because it does tell me how many she had. Troll Skull Alley, Early and Crown. Addition. Roll a d6 for me.
I have stepped away from my computer to feed my dog. So,
Then I
Oh.
will roll a d6.
and
5. Okay, so Fala has 5 potions of water breathing. If you wanted to go.
oh, that's a lot. How much are they?
I think they're 250 gold.
That's like a new set of cards.
No, it's fine. I got it.
She's got it, guys. Don't worry about it.
She got so good.
You got it. Wait, how does that song go? You got it. I don't know. A lot of songs do that. Chris, whenever you have Chris, whenever you have a chance, I wanted to talk to you about the guy that I'm tracking because you were actually seemed interested in dealing with him. Yes, I have some intel that we could, like all this in character, but I imagine I tell you all the time, the whole time that I was shadowing him, just like, hey, we need to take care of this now, particularly when in the dock ward when there's no guards around and there's only like the 2 guards that's following him and him. I don't think anybody else was interested in taking care of him, but if anybody else is,
I mean,
let me know, or I'll
Layla
keep.
might be into it.
Were they following him because he was like scummy and like suspicious looking, or?
No, they're following him because they are all me and suspicious looking.
Oh.
So they're trying to, yeah, so
Hmm.
yeah. So they definitely need to be dealt with as well for
Yep.
perhaps in one solid motion.
Well, you piqued
Well,
my interest,
let
but
me
now you have
hear
my
that.
attention.
Excellent. The more the merrier. The band grows strong.
It's 180 gold piece.
Okay, that's still a lot.
They're expensive, yeah.
Yeah.
But she sells potions of animal friendship, potions of climbing, potions of healing of all varieties, and she can make custom potions as well.
Sorry, you were cutting out a couple times there again.
She keeps on hand potions of animal friendship, potions of climbing, potions of healing of all varieties, potions of water breathing, and then she also makes things custom.
Can I toss rocks?
You're just throwing rocks?
Throwing rocks at Ziraj's window, like small ones. Like tap, tap, tap.
Okay. You hear his voice. You hear his voice come from behind you, and he just, what?
Oh.
So we went to the circus.
Look, Layla, I got shit to do.
Yeah.
Like, you told me people were gonna kill Tally. I don't want people to kill Tally. And then you come down here, you're talking about the circus, you're throwing rocks at my window.
Well, do you know the big explosion thing? Well, it was a mechanical thing that threw a fireball bead. I just thought you might want to know a little bit more.
Didn't you ask me about Davil?
No. Did I? I don't remember.
Pretty sure you talked to. Oh no, yeah. Didn't you ask Davil about me?
Was it Davil or was it Yagra?
Whichever. Look, there's two kinds of people in the Zentarum. There's thinkers and there's muscle. If you want something solved with explosions and mechanical people, whatever, go talk to Davil. He's a thinker. Somebody's at the door. Archer.
Oh.
If you want somebody to get shot with an arrow, I can help with that probably, but I'm busy right now. So, unless involves to how I'm gonna help keep Tally alive, I'm gonna go get back on my roof.
Well, I mean, you might. At some point. Oh my god, who the heck is here? Hold on.
You gotta devise a plan.
Attack him from all sides.
I'm not attacking. Oh no, I'm not attacking this man. He's too burly. Well, really, I just wanted to talk to you. But I guess if you don't want to talk to me, I'll just go.
Okay, well,
Archer whining in the background is just adding bonus marks.
Very sad.
Layla with the puppy dog eyes.
Yeah, I give him like the saddest like puppy dog eyes, and I would like to persuade him to want to talk to me.
Okay. Well, really. Password is for our security camera. Oh, I have a password. There we go. Okay. He says like, another time.
I guess she just leaves
That's the
then.
longest link ever.
Holy crap!
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, God. I don't
Okay.
I don't think we could do anything with that.
What is
That's
this?
a bad idea.
Okay.
Shit.
Well, anyway.
You ever heard of Tiny URL?
Never. Nah.
That's awesome.
So he
though.
still seems disinterested.
Oh well, I guess I give up. Oh my gosh, how long is this link?
Okay. And then, so then
Sorry.
he shuffles back off into the dark. Yeah, and like I said, we will pick up with Layla's disappointment next week then,
Aww.
because I feel like poop.
Aww. You
Also,
should get
who's
some sleep.
outside?
I don't know, some old lady.
Ugh.
Well, rest up. All the tea. All the tea.
Yep.
That you can manage.
I will see you guys next time.
Alright,
I'll
guys.
see you
Oh.
guys in quite a while. I guess my character is just gonna be like working on the house for.
Working on the house.
Working
Okay.
9 to 5.
Kid,
Yeah.
what she's doing, 'cause
Why?
she's working for a living. All right, see you guys.
Wait.
All right,
Bye.
thanks. Bye.
Bye.